It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudette, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Her Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudette, and today we're talking with Nancy Benet. Nancy is a licensed CPA, entrepreneur, and CEO of both Fixit Accounting and Success Your Way, an online education platform empowering women to start and grow businesses aligned with their deepest desires. Nancy's story is as real as it gets. After a divorce left her with 4 kids, no job, and over $650,000 in debt, she had no choice but to rebuild from the ground up. Through resiliency, smart money habits, and a mindset shift, she transformed her circumstances and built 2 thriving businesses. Now she's passionate about helping women manifest the lives they want and grow businesses with confidence and clarity. Nancy, I am so happy to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you, Leslie. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, well, we're newly connected, and I actually met you through your assistant who reached out to me, and she said that you would be a great guest for the show. And it was actually a great timing because for me, I was starting to look for guests for this. Now we're in season 4 of the podcast, and in particular for this month of February, which is my wealth series month. And once we had our conversation, I felt really confident that you would be a great addition to the series. So I'm thankful that your assistant, Gay, reached out to me. And also, I'm thankful that you said yes to being on the show.
I'm so happy to be here and share my journey so that it might be able to help someone else, because I feel like it's so important that we help each other through this world because nobody can do it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I feel like we're better together because I think we're all like, it's like one big community, even though we live in smaller pockets, but it's like a huge community, the world that we live in. And if we can support each other, I think it's so important. So I wanted to dive into the questions. You are, as I had opened up the show, you're a licensed CPA, you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, but your story also includes rebuilding your life after divorce. You raised 4 children, and you faced over $650,000 in debt. And that is a big wow for me. So can you take us back to that season and really share what it was really like for you to start over and what helped you to decide that giving up wasn't an option?
Those are great questions. I hope I can encompass all of them. So, earlier in my life, I had no self-confidence. I really was just kind of at the bottom of the barrel. I've been a passive wife for many, many years, submissive to my husband and hit what he wanted. And so I was staying at home and raising kids, even though I had the CPA license, I was not using it. And then eventually I let that go because it was so expensive to maintain. And so I gave it up. And ended up, when I got divorced, just at the bottom of where I could be. And sometimes I think the bottom is the best place for us. That was where I was able to find my strength. And I think that finding our strength is like the biggest thing we can do, finding our strength and our confidence to move forward out of something that's bad into something that's good. And that was where it all started for me. And really raising those kids and getting through that debt was such a challenge. But I didn't have any other outlets. There was nowhere for me to go. It was a recession. There were no jobs. There was just nothing else for me to do except build, because there was a guy that had a small tax prep firm and I had lost my job. Unemployment had run out. I had $100 a week in child support. We were kind of starving to death. If it weren't for my mother, we would have starved to death. But so this guy offers to sell me his practice because he wanted to retire. And the day after I signed a 3-year lease, I had signed that agreement with him. Then I signed a 3-year lease on a new office space, and he backed out and gave that to his daughter. So I was left sitting there with the 4 kids, no food, no income, $100 a week in child support. It was quite the journey, but when you get in a position like that, it forces you to dig so deep down into yourself to find out what you're made of that it becomes a very valuable experience. And that is what I did. I couldn't quit. I had nothing to quit to. There was nothing else for me to do but start building. And that's what I did. And I think when you get to that spot, your boats are burned, you're stuck where you are, you can't do anything else except go up. And so that's what I did. I started building like little bitty steps to go up. Little bitty. It was small at first. And that's how I got out of all of it. It was one tiny baby step at a time, because I had the debt to tackle, I had the kids to take care of, and I had to make an income and build my business. So that's what I did. I just kept going. I did not have a CPA license at that time, but I built a large accounting firm anyway. I went back later and got the license back because it was really hard to do. And where I was licensed changed the rules that allowed me to get the license back, which was really great, without taking the exam again, which is super hard. So that's where I came from and where I ended up, and it was a beautiful experience. And so I encourage you, if you're in that place where you see no light and no way out, start building some little steps, just tiny little bit at a time. Don't try to tackle it and leap all at once. Accept where you are, decide where you're going, and start going there. Start walking, start taking some tiny baby steps, because that's what will get you out.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and it's like, again, your story, because of, like, where, you found yourself in this position, which I know probably a lot of women are in this position of homemaker. It's by choice, and there's nothing wrong with that, or maybe not by choice because their husbands, it's an expectation, and so they find themselves in that position, and then if something happens, it's like, "Oh my gosh," it's almost like a reinvention of self, but also like, how do I even dig myself out of this hole? And when I believe, like, when you've lived on both sides, right, of the financial security to like the non-security and the financial security, your money relationship changes, right? Like your relationship with your money changes. So I'm curious, how did your definition of wealth evolve as you rebuilt? And what do you now believe true wealth actually means, especially for women?
Oh, that's a great question, because your idea of wealth has to evolve. When you're in a bad situation like that and every penny counts, your idea of a lot of money is $10 or $100. And you have to change that perspective first. And I think that was difficult for me because I grew up in a home where we were poor. My parents had a very much of a lack mentality, and I had to overcome that. That's the reason I ended up where I was, because I still had that lack mindset, that mentality. And you have to develop a wealth mentality. And it's not something that happens overnight. You can't wish for $1 million and have a wealthy mindset. It's something that gets built over time and gets added to as you have financial successes. To me, my definition of wealth has certainly changed. I would say that wealth for me now, like, my greatest joy is my family. That is what makes me feel so wealthy, but I'm wealthy monetarily as well, and that's beautiful, and that, I think, allows me to have the freedom of not being in survival mode, to be able to appreciate the things around me that really matter. my purpose in life, my health, my family. Those are the things that really matter. Those are the things that make you wealthy. But at the same time, you have to have money, and having more money than less money is definitely better. Definitely. And some people can criticize you for having too much or when's enough. But I say to them that it's never really enough simply because the more you have, the more you can help other people. Like
Mhm.
when you're in survival mode, you're not helping anybody but yourself. When you are in wealth mode, when you have what you need and you're in that giving back mode, you can contribute so much more than you ever thought possible. And contributing means giving people jobs, like allowing people that don't have an entrepreneurial mindset to work and teaching them and helping other people in a larger way, like we do with Success Your Way. And I really appreciate that. That to me is wealth as well, because I get to contribute. I get to share my knowledge, and I appreciate being able to do that. If I had had somebody like me when I was growing up or when I was coming up in business, I could have done a lot better. I would not have failed so much. I would not have ended up with $650,000 in debt for 5 failed businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also feel like even though when we look back and think, well, what would we change? I've often had that question come up for myself. And I think, well, yeah, if I change all of those things, would I be here where I'm at today? Would I be missing out on the things that I have today?
Yeah.
So there's like catch 22. So I want to have a follow-up question to that. What do you think many women misunderstand about money when they're trying to build stability or freedom?
I think one of the things people are looking for is a big win. And a big win is not as great as what you think it might be. Number one, it's one thing and it's not going to last. Number two, when you get that big win, you haven't built a foundation for continuing the big win. Like if you're building a business and doing it with baby steps or building your wealth with baby steps, you're creating a foundation of wealth, of mindset, of how you live your life, of feeling good about yourself, having confidence, all of those things along with the business skills and the skills of dealing with your money. If you are given a lump sum or somehow have this big win, you don't have that foundation and it can go away just as fast as it came. When you have the foundation, it doesn't go away. You can always do it again. You can always do more because you've learned, you understand what it takes. When there's just one big win or two big wins, you're having to do that all over again. And it's not sustainable, one, and it's not laying that foundation for you in your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So with financial stress, I know that it doesn't just impact our bank accounts, right? It can impact our confidence, it can impact how we make decisions, and also how we can emotionally handle it, like our emotional resilience. So from your experience, how does unresolved financial pressure affect women emotionally, and how can it keep them stuck?
Whew, I think that's a big deal because I was like you say, stuck. I felt stuck because of the financial pressure. And it keeps us in this emotional place where we can't seem to think outside of that pressure. And that's just human nature. It's not a personal failing. It's just the way that it is. I think, having that, for me, having that taxing thing where I absolutely had to figure something out. I had to make it work. I had to keep going. There was nothing to quit to. Put me in a position where I had to put it aside. I had to learn emotionally to set those problems to the side and go, you know what? I'll deal with that later. They are not my first priority. This is my first priority to learn how to make money because I have to feed my family. But it also shows up in other ways. Our children pick up on that stress. Even if we're not acting out toward them, they feel it. They feel it. I always felt that stress in my family when I was growing up, and I never wanted my children to feel that. So I really tried hard not to. But I think even as hard as we try, they still pick up on that. And our relationship suffers with the stress as well. And so if we can resolve that and kind of put the financial learn to let go of it a little bit and not worry so much about the things that might happen if we don't make the rent or if we don't make the mortgage payment. I was in foreclosure. My mom's house that I lived in was in foreclosure for a lot. months. And it's very, very stressful to think that you might be out on the street. But I knew that if I kept doing what I was supposed to do, that God would take care of me. I just knew that in my soul. I was like, I'm doing the best I can. Please help me. And I was fine. We never got evicted. We never ended up on the street. But I was doing everything in my power too. I didn't sit down and go, oh, poor me. Somebody needs to just help me or give me some money. I worked. I tried. I kept taking steps. And I think when you're in that position, when you are really actively trying and not just sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, it moves mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we talk about success your way, because I do want to talk about that, I want to just talk about how you have built two businesses. They're successful, and you've also stayed aligned with your values. So, how did you navigate your growth without compromising your ethics, your values, your priorities as a mom and as well a leader? Because you're also, not only are you leading other people, but you're also showing your children a side of leadership I don't think people recognize. As a mom, you do, right? So what would you say how you navigated your growth without compromising all of that, like all of your ethics, your values, your priorities as that mom and leader?
Well, I think that goes back to my grounding earlier in my life because I really just decided that I can't sleep at night if I'm doing something that's ethically wrong. So I gauged all my decisions on that. Will I be able to sleep at night if I do this? And if the answer is no, I will not do that because I have to sleep. We all need that rest. And so that was one of my things. And eventually that kind of got applied over the years. I was able to really mold the direction that I wanted to go into what it was. And I knew where I was headed, and every decision that I made had to be in line with that. But it also had to be in line ethically. My children watched that, and I have to tell you, I have 4. There's the 3rd one is now working here, learning business skills. The other 2 that worked here already have successful businesses that support them completely. So it's not like a side hustle or something. They are supporting themselves with their businesses, which I think is beautiful from what they learned here. And they have that moral compass. And I really appreciate that because it's easy. For instance, the guy that I was going to buy that tax prep firm from, his clients expected him to cheat the government for them. I knew that I couldn't do that. So when he backed out and gave that business to his daughter, it was really a big bonus for me because now I don't have to deal with these clients that are not going to like me. When I say, no, I can't do that. And that's a hard conversation to have. But if you have your moral compass, things work out for you. Like there it is. They left because I was really contemplating, what am I going to do about this? I cannot cheat the government for these clients.
Mhm.
So that's how I manage that part of it. It seems like it's not as hard as what we expect.
Mhm. Yeah, and you know what? I also believe, like, even for myself, like, having if you wanna call them core values or whatever, I use those to help me to navigate life in general because it's like you have this set of not necessarily rules, but guidelines of how you show up in the world that it just makes it so much easier. And I love the fact that you were like saying, like, this is where I take a stand. This is what I believe in. But also, like, as I said, you're a mom and it's a form of, for me, like, I never even thought about it until I just said it just now to you that I feel like moms are leaders as well for their children. Like, you are a role model. You are showing them how to do life, but I feel like it's a form of leadership that maybe a lot of people don't necessarily recognize it as that. They look at it as like, oh, mom is raising the kids. But I truly feel when you really have, like, as like you were saying, like your values and how they help you structure your life, and then you're showing your children and showing them how to how to do life. That's helping them, and it's like you were saying, you have 2 children who've now gone on to create successful businesses for themselves. And that is a testimony to your leadership to them as a not just as a mom, but as a leader and showing them how to do life in a way that's going to support them, but in a way also that your values do matter. And I think people get away from that too often. It's like you were saying, you had a potential business venture that you might have had to then try to figure out how to get out of. Instead, it was like really a good thing. I mean, in hindsight, like you were saying, that you didn't get access to this company because you then would have had access to headaches that you didn't need to actually have to worry about when you'd already gone through so much to get to where you were. So I just wanted to bring that up because I really truly feel as a mom that you are not only are you mom and you're raising your children to be good human beings, to do well in life, but you're also showing them what a leader, a true leader looks like. And that's, like I said, it just came to me now how moms are leaders. So I just wanted to say that.
Your children watch everything you do.
Mm.
They see
Oh,
you. They do. And so I think it's really important to act with integrity and be that leader for them.
yeah, absolutely. 100%. So let's talk about Success Your Way. You've created this platform to help women build businesses aligned with their deepest desires, not just external expectations. So tell us what inspired you to create the platform, and then how does it help your clients approach money and business differently?
So I had a client in the CPA firm one day, and she's telling me about how much she loves farming and she has a job, but she wants to leave the job and do farming. And they live, in a little rural area close by here. And she's telling me all about this. Then she says, one way to make this work is to buy the convenience store down the street. I was flabbergasted. She had not stopped to think about that because a convenience store is a 24/7 obligation. You cannot leave, and you're in the middle of nowhere. There's not gonna be anybody to work there for you, so it's gonna be you and your husband working that. I really just redirected her very, very quickly, and I realized after, just thinking back on all the conversations I've had with newer business owners in the CPA firm, I'm saying the same thing all the time, and I'm trying to encourage them to find out what it is that they want. Like, dig deep. What is your desire? What do you want to build? What looks like success to you? Because we're bombarded with messages from outside of us, what you should do, what you could do, what you have to do. But what does your inner voice say? What do you say? Instead of listening to all of those things, what does this look like for you? And so that's the first course that we developed is your business mindset, develop that. What do you want to build? What do you want your life to look like so you can structure your business around it? And then the second one is to the little nuts and bolts of business that people just don't know that they don't know when they're starting businesses. And I'm saying the same things over and over and over again to newer business owners in fix it accounting. And I just thought we could do something with this because I think there's a huge need. We're just seeing people in our small town. What about in our area? What about in our state? What about, what can we do that will contribute to helping other women start businesses? And so that's how Success Your Way was born. Now we have, actually today, it's supposed to be today. I don't know if it's actually happening today. There's a little more logistics to it than we thought. But we have a book called Tame Your Money Monster coming out on Amazon, and a course that goes with that about how to have the right money mindset as well. And so we're really building on this, and we're having so much fun. We're also doing a daily video series called The Everyday CEO, which is just little snippets of things you need to know in business that maybe you don't know, maybe they don't teach in business school. These are really the things that I teach my children when they come here. And it's been so successful with them. I just wanted to be able to present that. And it's free on Facebook and Instagram. It's a daily. We're doing it for 365 days, all of 2026. And I'm very excited about that. And my heart is in service. I see needs and I want to help people so much. And so this is why it was born.
Yeah, I love that. I really love the fact that you are inspiring women to have success their way because I feel that I recently did back in November, and I replayed it again at the beginning of the year. I had a conversation with a couple other women that had been on the show previously, and we talked about this concept that I had been hearing a lot more of, like this having it all. And I keep still hearing people throwing it around about having it all. And I wanted to just really talk about like what that meant. Like, why does it have to be that you have to be a wife, a mom, have the house with the white picket fence with 2.2 kids. I think that's what it was. The dog, the
Mhm.
vacation homes, the cars, all this money. Why does having it all have a laundry list of things that maybe to you aren't important? Like having it all could be, I'm a mom who has my, I don't know, could be have an embroidery business where I'm an artist and I sell things online. My husband does this. We have a great relationship. I homeschool my children. And to me, that's having it all. Or having it all is having a thriving two businesses and I'm thriving and I have my kids working and all of this. And that to me is having it all. Like, why does it have to be set into this other mold that people think that that's what having it all is about? So I love that you say success your way is finding what works for you, like finding what inspires you to actually go out every day. Because once you get into business, it's not just like, oh, okay, you turn on the lights and that's it. I mean, there's still work involved. So I love that you do that. And so I have one follow-up question for you. When it comes to success and that belief around success, what do you help women unlearn inside your programs when it comes to success? That belief, that belief of success.
Well, I like what you were talking about because having it all, does that mean the expensive cars and stuff? I think people are going way into debt to look like they have it all. But looking like you have it all and impressing your neighbors who aren't impressed because they're not thinking about you at all, I think is just so misguided. We really need to think about what we want and what makes us happy. I personally live extremely far below my means. My husband and I are super happy. We we don't need all that stuff. And we have some of it, but it's not doesn't break the bank. And so if you have those things, the car, the big house, all those things, and you're financially stressed because of it, that is causing you so much distress. Get rid of it, downsize, do something that fits you. Even if you have to live in a very small thing. I told my husband if I've got him by my side and my kids and my family and I can live in a bus. I'll be okay. I don't have to have those things to feel good about me, but we're bombarded with advertising messages every single day that tell us what we should want. And if you can push that aside and really dig into yourself and find out what's important to you, you'll be good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just feel like there's just this idea out there of what a successful life looks like. And I just started pushing back on that and thinking, like, well, maybe right now I don't have all the things that I want, but right now I am in a season of having it all because I have things that I've wanted. And so if that, it doesn't mean that still don't strive for more or better. It just means that I'm content and I feel like for me, the idea of having it all just is being content in where I find myself right now, and then still building towards whatever else it is that I'm inspired to create. So, I mean, that's for me is what I've really started to lean into. I want to ask you so for me, energy is really important. I feel like a lot of time people think it's time management of like how you structure your day is going to be really important, is the most important thing, how you use your time. And I'm not disagreeing necessarily, but I also want to say that I feel that in order for you to use your time well, you have to have the energy to support it. And so I feel a lot of the time we kind of are in this, I don't know if I would want to say hustle culture, but it's just the mindset of push, 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 keep pushing forward. Sometimes even to the point where like you have these I don't know if it was unnecessary expectations on yourself, but we put deadlines on ourselves that sometimes are not manageable because we don't understand that life doesn't just, stay on the sidelines while you're in the idea of creating when you're bringing something into life. And so I feel like energy is so important. And I feel that it should be really the top thing that you think about that supports your time, because you could have like a full day off. Like, let's just say tomorrow you have nothing on your calendar, but today you are push, 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 and you push through to exhaustion. Tomorrow, even if you wanted to put things on your calendar, probably, I would say most likely, tomorrow is going to be a recovery day and you're not going to be able to do the fun things that you want. For example, you might have a busy week and then you're thinking, oh, I have the weekends coming. I'll be able to go and do some fun things. I'll be able to rest, but I'll be able to have some fun. And by the time the weekend gets there, you've exhausted yourself that it's like full recovery the entire weekend. You don't leave your house because you're just too tired. You're too exhausted. So I really feel like energy mastery is the most, for me, believe is the most important thing so that you can use your time well. And so I want to know, just from your perspective, when it comes to, especially because I know I'm sure that time management is very important with what you do, because being a CPA, obviously you have, especially we're in tax season now, we're just stepping into it. What have you learned about managing your time and your energy that supports you long term so that you don't face those days where possibly could lead to burnout? Because I know this is a huge topic that I try to at least talk about once in a while with my guests, especially with what they do, to get their perspective.
So I spend a lot of time on self-care, making sure that I'm good because I can't show up in the world. A lot of people count on me. A lot of people count on me. We have a bunch of employees, a bunch of tenants, a bunch of vendors that we work with. And so I have to show up as my best. And so I really do prioritize that. Now, mind you, I don't have small children at home. I have the luxury, but I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to exercise, to do my meditation, to do those self-care things so that when I come to the office, I am ready and I'm in a good headspace. Because one of the things that I find in Success Your Way, we have a step formula for success. And one of those steps is really managing your state. So it would be intend what you want, manage your state, take baby steps, and release whatever it is that you want to the universe to provide that for you. But managing your state is the biggest one as far as I'm concerned, because if we show up in a place where we're overexhausted or we're not even keeled emotionally, nothing's going to go right. I will tell you, have you ever been in that frantic state where, oh, I can't find my car keys and and later you find them and they were right there because you couldn't even see them. Your brain doesn't function properly if you're not in the right state. So for me, managing that state is vitally important as I approach any day, every day, all the time. I have to make sure that I'm calm, cool, collected. I'm not having big drama and big drops. It's just very even in my life, and I keep it that way on purpose because everything goes smoothly when I am good inside. Because your exterior of you reflects what's going on inside. I think it's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, final question. This series is about wealth, building financial success without losing yourself in the process. So I've named it aptly the Wealth with Integrity series. So, what's one principle that keeps you grounded as you lead your life? And what would you want women listening to remember about creating wealth on their own terms?
What what keeps me grounded? When you have failed as much as I have failed, that really keeps you grounded because I realize every day that I'm not where I am from anything I did so much as from surrounding myself with brilliant people. The people in my life are amazing and wonderful, and I can't say enough about them. And anybody that tells you they're self-made they're just wrong. Nobody can do it alone. We all have those people in our lives that have helped us, whether it's encouraging us or supporting us in some other way. And then encouraging people, it's all about baby steps, building wealth. You can't expect to build it overnight. Keep going. Whatever you've decided to do, dig in. Like, I think that's a really big deal is to dig in because I had all those other businesses before, 5 of them that we failed at because I didn't dig in. I didn't go, you know what? I'm going to do this no matter what. No matter what, I'm doing it. I've got to do it. I'm going to do it. There's no back door. I'm doing it. And until I got that attitude and started just taking baby steps every day, I didn't get excited. I didn't get down too much. I just kept going on the baby steps. That is, I think, the biggest secret to success in anything that you do, wealth included, because you can't build wealth without building. It comes in small increments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really loved you sharing your journey about where you started from, I guess, again, rebuilding your life after having some incredible obstacles to overcome. But I really feel like it's so important to have that backstory so that people can see, yeah, this is possible. Like if she can do it, so can I, right? And I love the fact that you have built businesses now that are supporting women around the world to succeed on their own terms. I love the fact that your children have learned from a mom who's led them to understanding business principles, life principles to be able to go on and build businesses of their own that are successful. And I really appreciated hearing about how you approach business, money, growth, self-care. I think it's important because we need to take care of ourselves. And I just love that you've taken us on this journey through your lived experience and real world wisdom that you've shared. And I know that the listeners today are going to walk away with so much wisdom, but also insight, and there's that encouragement piece too, that success your way is possible. So thanks so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you for joining me today.
Thank you, Leslie. So nice to be here.
And to our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Nancy directly and to learn more about Success Your Way and her programs and her book and her daily video series, definitely check the show notes for all of her information and you can connect with her directly. Remember, wealth isn't just what you build, it's how you build it. And when you lead with integrity, stay aligned with your values, and you trust yourself to do it your way, that's when your success becomes sustainable. And that's when it starts to feel like yours. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Hey, I'm DC. I host a radio show on multiple genres. There's rock, there's metal, there is country, and I talk to the artists, and I take those interviews from the radio, and I put them into a podcast, which is called Behind the Rock with DC. Check it out, Behind the Rock with DC, a podcast that brings you a little bit closer to the bands, a little bit closer to the artists. Please subscribe to the podcast today.
Electricast.
Hey everybody, Diego here from the Candle Power Hour and Candle Power Records. Together with Electricast Records, we proudly present Imperial Highway, a California sampler. 15 singles tracked by artists all based in California. Every song on Imperial Highway is mastered to deliver. Rock and roll is back, and we got what you want. If you're craving new music, Imperial Highway hits the spot. Download Imperial Highway. Check us out at candlepowerrecords.com and listen to the Candle Power Hour on Electricast.
Electricast.